Are you just getting started budgeting and feel completely lost? Does the idea of budgeting make you feel like doing absolutely anything else rather than sit down and figure out where your money's going? If so, this video is for you. Hello, I'm Sarah Edens. I'm a finance coach, author, and wealth mindset researcher. And on my channel, I talk about wealth mindset and finance skills. So if that interests you, please come subscribe to my channel and be sure to hit the bell button so you get notified every time I upload a new video. And also, you can come follow me on Instagram, where I hold Instagram live streams called Ask a Finance Coach Anything. And that's your time to ask me all your money questions. So please come follow me on Instagram as well. And if you're a returning viewer, I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. So today we are going to talk about where to start if you have never budgeted before. And that is no shame in that. Wherever you are in your financial journey, wherever you are in your stage of life, it's never too late to figure out how to really gain control over your finances. And so I'm so happy that you're here today. And I have a lot of resources for you that I will link to in the comments. And I've also got playlists on budgeting and on keeping your credit cards paid off that I'll put a link to here somewhere on the screen as well. And so you can always go learn more about those topics too. And this is part of my budgeting series, obviously. So this is the place to start if you've never done budgeting before. So the first thing you want to do when you're getting off the ground with budgeting is you really want to sit down and think through what your goals are for your finances. And this can be a good exercise to do by yourself or with your spouse or your partner, whoever else is in the family, making and spending money. Basically, you want to have them included in the conversation, and perhaps your kids as well, because you can also, it is really never too early to start educating children about financial skills as well, and young adults. So as you learn this, then my hope is that you will go and teach this. If you have children or children in your life, that you will turn around and teach those skills to them as well, because the earlier that we learn these skills, the easier it is to build those good habits, build those wealth habits, build those finance skills, and have a more successful and more prosperous life, because the earlier you start, the better. But like I said, never too late to start learning how to budget. I don't care what age you are, where you are in life. I'm just happy that you're here. So sit down and think through what your financial goals are. So depending on your stage in life, you might be looking at figuring out how to buy your first home. You might be looking at getting married and having expenses associated with that. You might be looking at having a new baby. You might be looking at retiring. You might have kids who are getting ready to go off to college and trying to figure out how to pay for that. And so whatever your situation is, maybe you just have something as simple as you want a new car, or you want a vacation that you've been wanting to go on but don't have the money for. So the possibilities are endless here, and you're the one that knows best what your goals are. And so just find a journal and a piece of paper and a pen, and just start jotting down what your financial goals are. And you can make a long list. It just write down everything that comes to mind. Kind of just don't analyze it too much. Just really start to write everything down, because the nice thing about really putting pen to paper is that it helps our brains process our thoughts and our emotions around money in a meaningful and practical way. And then also, what's really fun is that down the road, if you look back at your list that you're making now, and you look back at that list and you are like, oh my gosh, this is so fun to see. This was my list from 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Look at all these boxes that I've checked on this list. Look at all these things I've accomplished. And so it's nice with goal setting to have that record of kind of where you started, because that's a huge part of that sense of personal achievement, is remember where you came from. And sure, we can all continue to improve, but just being able to see where you started is just a really nice place to begin. So grab that piece of paper, get your pen out, make that list, and that's the first step. And then the next thing that you want to do is to start really prioritizing which of those goals you're going to aim for first. And so maybe the most important thing is you have some debt you need to pay off, or maybe the most pressing thing is coming up with your down payment for your home, or maybe the most pressing thing is that you haven't started saving for retirement yet and you'd like to start doing that, and also finding ways to help your money grow for you so that you are working towards retirement. So maybe that's your top priority. So pick whatever's the off your list, pick whatever's the top priority that's going to make the biggest difference for you and your quality of life. And what your top priority is might be different from someone else's. And we are all unique, we are all individuals. So don't feel bad if your top priority is taking that dream vacation, because that might be your thing that you really want to do and it's really, really important to you. And so perhaps that's your top priority. Anyway, pick out exactly what your top priority is, identify how much money you need for that thing you're saving for, how much debt you want to pay off, or whatever your priority is, but go ahead and pick that out. And then the next thing that you do is on a separate piece of paper, or you can make an Excel spreadsheet. I personally really like using Excel spreadsheets for this, is to go ahead and really get a solid understanding of your income and your expenses. So start with your income and pull up your bank statements and look at how much money is coming in every month. So you just look at a 30-day period, how much money is coming in. So this is from your paycheck, your partner's paycheck, your spouse's paycheck, from maybe a side job that you've got or a part-time job. Maybe you've got an Etsy shop. Maybe you sell things on Amazon. Maybe you've got interest coming in from investments that you've made. But pull all of that and identify as a lump sum how much is coming in every single month. And the results on this might surprise you, especially if you've never sat down and done this, because it might be when you sit down, maybe you're pleasantly surprised that there's more money coming in than you realized. I know that's definitely something that I always feel like when I really sit down and look at it. I think a lot of times our money narrative to ourselves around earning and income is, oh my gosh, we don't make enough money. We never have enough money for the things that we need. And so that is the narrative that we need to start replacing with a wealth narrative and a wealth mindset of, we have more than enough money coming in every month to meet our expenses. We have more than enough money coming in so that we can get everything done on our financial list. And so that's the narrative that you want to start breaking down, those old money narratives, and moving towards the positive ones that help you build wealth by starting in your mind. And so get your income sorted out, have a feel for exactly where you are there, put that down on your spreadsheet or your piece of paper. And then you want to list out all your expenses. And this is something that you want to do then throughout that upcoming month. Is, you can also look back at the previous month and see how much expenses you had if you want to. So you can look at your bank statements and your credit card bills, and that'll give you a good estimate of exactly where you are with your expenses, bills, housing, transportation, gas, all that fun stuff, fun money that you're spending, eating out, going to the movies, childcare. Childcare should not be in the fun money category. Sorry, childcare is the needs, right? So anyway, but go through and look at that, and you can make columns on your piece of paper. You can use your spreadsheet and make columns. But basically then as you go forward throughout the month, then write down as basically every dollar you spend that month, or every dollar that you and everyone who's spending money in your household spends, right? And you want to go ahead and get a good record of exactly how much money goes out for that upcoming month. And so that way you've got a solid record of what money's coming in. You've got a record of what's going out, and specifically what's going out to where. And so that way you can see, okay, how much is going out the door in groceries? How much is getting spent on gas? How much is getting spent at Amazon buying stuff that maybe we don't necessarily need, but is fun to have? How much are we spending servicing debt, with your loans and so forth? You want to list out all your loans as well, obviously. If you've got a mortgage, you've got car loans. And so by now you should have built like a really nice list as you've gone through that 30-day period. you'll have a very solid feel for exactly how much money is going out. And the goal with budgeting is not to make you feel deprived and not to make you feel stressed and not to make you feel like you can never do what you want to with your hard earned money. The goal is to help you feel in control of your finances and be able to hit those goals that you've set for yourself. When we got started with this video where we were talking about setting your financial goals, it's so that you are able to take control of that situation rather than having your money just kind of come and go and you're not sure where it's going and you're not really sure what's coming in, and it's all just this chaotic mess. And and that's the part about personal finance where I think when people start to describe, oh my gosh, money makes me so stressed, I think a lot of times what they're saying is, I don't know where my money's going, and I don't know how much is coming in, and I don't know how to keep up with all the loans that I have, and I haven't learned the skill sets yet. It doesn't mean that money in and of itself is the problem. It's just that maybe you haven't learned the skill sets yet. And that's what I'm here for, is we do wealth mindset and finance skills. And so that is exactly what I'm teaching on my channel. And what I'm so passionate about is just to help take the stress and confusion out of finance and money and bring peace and calm and order to the chaos. And that's something you can do for yourself in your own personal situation just by learning the skills and building the habits. And budgeting is a habit that you build over time. So if you go through your first month and you forgot to write down like half of your fun money purchases, or you forgot a grocery shop that you didn't list out, or you lost track of how much your family spent on gas or whatever, it's like, it's okay. That's fine. It's don't expect perfection out of yourself here. You want to start where you are, because you'll be doing this monthly for probably the rest of your adult life. And so it's all about building these little habits as you go, and you'll get better at it as you go along. I remember, and actually I'll link in the description box to a really wonderful book that I should have pulled off my bookshelf before I started filming so I could show you. But anyway, I'll link to the comment it in the description box. But it's a wonderful book. It's super simple. It was the book that got me started on my budgeting journey. And so I will definitely link to that in the description. But basically, what that book did for me and what learning how to budget did for me is it just gave me so much confidence that I would be able to achieve the financial goals that I wanted to achieve. And I'm still learning and I'm still growing. And it's really fun doing these videos because I learned so much as I'm teaching you. I learn things and I try things. And if it works, I teach it here on my channel. If it doesn't work, I can at least tell you what didn't work. And so that's one thing I love about being an educator, and especially in the finance space, because money and personal finance is a very large stressor for many, many people, but it does not have to be. It's a skill that you can learn, just like learning to ride your bicycle or learning how to cook or learning how to drive or any of these other things that we've learned. None of us are born knowing how to do that stuff. And so, same thing with finance. Don't beat yourself up if you find money stressful and budgeting stressful, because this is just where you're starting. It won't feel stressful 6, 12 months down the road. It'll just be another habit, just ingrained in your life and how you roll. So, that's kind of where you want to start, is identify your financial goals, get all your income and expenses all logged so you really understand what's coming in, what's going out, kind of bring order to the chaos. And then from there, you just build that habit and continue to track those expenses every single month. And then the goal really too is to make sure that as much as is humanly possible, and this doesn't always happen every month for myself or anyone else, but try very hard to make sure that you are spending less than you're making, because that way you basically are able to save, you're able to keep up with your, like, keeping your emergency fund funded, you're able to save for the future. And so you're not ever in a situation that way where maybe you have no cash on hand and you're stressed, or you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't started saving for retirement and I'm just going to have to work for a very, very long time because I have no retirement savings. And so you don't want to be in that position either. So that's the goal of the budget as well, is just to make sure that you're able to have money for your expenses today and then also money for your savings, which is your expenses tomorrow. So, kind of a good rule of thumb that a lot of financial professionals will recommend is the 50-30-20 rule when you're allocating how much to spend on what, because now you've gone through and you've figured out what's coming in, what's going out. And so now you go for the 50-30-20 rule. So you want to spend 50% of your monthly income on your needs, which is housing, gas, childcare, groceries, and so forth, transportation. You want 30% to go towards wants. So that's your fun money, your discretionary spending, things that you do that bring you joy, doing fun things with your kids, that kind of thing. So that's your 30. And then 20 is going towards paying down debt and savings. And so that's basically cleaning up maybe money you borrowed a while back to do what you're doing now, drive the car you're driving, whatever your situation is, with whatever loans you have, but getting those loans paid off and then starting to get your savings built up. So your emergency savings, which is 3 to 6 months of living expenses, and then your longer term savings, which is obviously your savings for your retirement. And so that is kind of how a lot of people will recommend that you allocate it, is 50-30-20. And that's just a good rule of thumb. You can obviously change the percentages around, and if saving 20% is not really feasible for you, then just get as close to that as you can. And then it's also really helpful too, because a lot of times with budgeting, you don't really think about saving, but that's really the point of budgeting in many ways, is to make sure you're freeing up money so that your future self has some money, and that you've got some money that then you can make work for you in finding ways to grow your money. And so that's that 20% category that's so critical, so that, because eventually all of us hit a point where we're not going to be able to work anymore, and or we don't want to work anymore. And so that's that kind of pre-planning for that. So that is where you want to start with budgeting. If you've never started before, that's kind of the key things to work on. So they're pretty simple and straightforward. And again, it's just building that habit of logging your income, logging your expenses. It's not really that complicated. And the nice thing is it's just math. So if you're there and you're running over with your expenses every single month, then you just go back and look and see what's causing that to happen and which areas are your trouble zones. And I have a whole series on budgeting here on YouTube that I'll link to here somewhere on the screen. And so it's got more on this topic if you're interested in watching those videos. And then the last thing that you can do is to look for some tools to help you out. So I mentioned the book that helped me learn how to budget, and I'll link to that in the description box below. And then there's also a lot of apps and things like that if you're more into having an app give you motivation and tracking things and maybe make it a little more automated. So that might suit you better than having to log everything in Excel every month. I know that's kind of a old school way that I use, but that may not work for you. So there's a number of different budgeting apps that you can use. So there's Mint, and I'll link to all these in the description, but there's Mint, which is really good, and it's got a free version. It's from I think it's from Intuit, but that's a good one that I've used before, and that just makes it fairly straightforward to be able to get your budgeting done. It kind of will put things into different categories and links to your bank, and so then it'll also show you when you're getting ready to run over a budget on something, and it'll really just be a good tool that way to kind of keep you on track with your financial goals. And then there is another app called You Need a Budget, and I'll link to that as well. And that is, I think that's a paid option. And then Dave Ramsey also has what is his tool? I wrote this down. Hold on. Yeah, You Need a Budget. Oh, Every Dollar. Dave Ramsey has a budgeting app as well that's a paid service. I think it's about $80 a year. And it is a budgeting tool as well that gets really good reviews online. And so it's called Every Dollar. So I'll link to all of that in the description. But those are all just tools that if you need something that's a little bit more digital and a little bit more automated and is going to maybe have some motivational stuff, to kind of help keep you motivated as you move towards those financial goals. You might prefer to use some of those as well. So maybe you start with a pen and paper or an Excel spreadsheet, and then you move along to some of these digital apps. And there's a whole host of other budgeting apps out there. So by no means those aren't the only three. And I'm not affiliated with any of those companies or get anything from recommending them at all. So just whatever works best for you, basically. Just try different things. If one app's not working for you, move on to another one. If you don't like apps at all, go with the spreadsheet. If you really hate having to do it at all and you've got the resources to, hire a CPA to help you out with all of that as well, and to kind of hand off that part of your life to someone else. So it just depends on what stage of life you're in and where you are. But some people can really find those apps extremely helpful because it kind of is like you plus the benefits of everything that's built into those apps, which those can be pretty powerful and pretty helpful just in terms of kind of the mindset and the motivation and helping you achieve your goals. So that is everything I have for you on how to get started with your budget. I hope this was helpful, and please let me know in the comments below, if you're just getting started with budgeting, what specifically you find most challenging about budgeting, because I'd be really interested to hear. I know from my experience, I know what's been challenging for me, but I'd be really interested to hear from you, not only what have been the challenges for you, but maybe what have been your biggest wins, and what's been the biggest thing that you've overcome financially by learning how to budget, whether you've paid off a lot of debt, you got yourself out of student debt, whatever the case may be. Maybe you saved for that dream vacation or got your cars paid off or accomplished another goal. I would really be interested to hear that in the comments as well. And please don't forget to come follow me on Instagram. It's at sarahedens financial. And come join me for my Instagram lives. If you go to my bio in my Instagram, you can see when my next scheduled live stream is. And so that'll have the date and time, and you can set a reminder and come log in there when I'm holding my next live stream and join me, and we can chat some more about other questions you have about all your money questions with Ask a Finance Coach Anything. All right, well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.